Board meeting to order. If we could all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, the first item on the agenda, as always, is our comments from the public. And as always, we have comments at the beginning and at the end. And the comments at the beginning are only for items that are on the agenda. And as of now, I don't think we've received any comments from the public. But as always, if you would like to submit a comment before we begin, please send it to the email address job@co.delaware.pa.us, as in Jail Oversight Board, job@co.delaware.pa.us, and please include your name and your address so that we can read it into the record. If we can pause for one moment, I'm getting an email that's saying we may or may not be live. I'm not sure if anyone.
It's on YouTube Live. I'm looking at it.
Okay, great. And we will press on. The next item on the agenda, if I can pull it up, is most likely to approve the minutes. It is to approve the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from February 2021?
Make it a motion.
I'll second.
I think we heard a second from Deborah.
Yes.
All right, motion a second. Any questions or comments before we vote? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Are there any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. And then next item is the approval of the February 2021 reports. Is there a motion to approve that?
Make a motion to approve that report.
Thank you, Sheriff Sanders. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Deborah. Motion is second. Any questions or comments on last month's reports? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Are there any opposed? All right, the ayes have it. And the next item is the approval of the staffing penalties from February 2021. Mr. Tatum, what do we have for this month? Mr. Tatum, I think you're on mute.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
For February, the staffing penalties totaled $126,510.49. That is up about $3,000 from the previous month. Staffing rate is 94% with 84% effective staffing rate.
Okay, well, I will again note that I think these last 3 months have been the highest that I remember on record. They were typically in the 70 to 90,000 range at the high, and we've now quite exceeded that. Lee, is there any further color commentary we have from Geo as to why these ongoing challenges?
Actually, the numbers for correctional services, I guess that's the department you refer to as the officers, that number actually went down $7,000. So we had quite an improvement in filling those vacant posts in February there, but we had significant increases in food service, health services, and support services. That totals the overall increase. But we are trending in the right direction in terms of correctional services. And frankly, the positions that were, these penalties consist of two things. Hourly workers, when you have vacant posts, those count against you. And then of course, the salary workers where positions are open for more than 45 days, those count against you. And that's what's starting to creep in, the open positions that have been vacant for more 45 days.
Is there a reason for that? Or is there a hiring freeze, or do you know of
No.
any reason why those salaried positions are acting this way?
Well, I can give you an example of a couple of positions. The wellness coordinator was never filled. That's been several months. However, we haven't had a lot of movement around the institution given our COVID restrictions. So I don't think there was a really a feeling or that they needed to fill that position. Also, we have a GED teacher, a third one, which again, we're not moving. And so we've been doing remote learning, and the two teachers have been doing just fine. So I think there are cases where this freeze or the COVID-19 restrictions have basically made us, those positions expendable to some point. But I guess when we get back to normal operations, you'll need those back in play.
I would be interested in knowing all of those positions, such as the two you just gave example. I'm not saying now, certainly offline. I don't expect you to pull it out of a piece of paper if you don't have it, but I would be interested in those types of positions that are kind of in that holding pattern because of the COVID.
Well, one of the positions was mine when I moved over. Right. So yeah, I can send that to you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments from the board? Is there a motion to approve the staffing penalty?
I make a motion to approve the staffing penalty as defined.
Thank you,
I'll
Deb.
second. It's Joanne.
Thank you, Controller Phillips. Any other questions or comments before we vote? All in favor? Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
All right, I think that was an aye, not a nay. Hearing no opposition, I think it's been approved unanimously. The next item is a coronavirus update. And I think I'd look to you, Mr. Tatum, again on this one.
Certainly. I sought an update on the vaccine progress in terms of this site, and I've yet to receive any further information regarding the plans for the county to vaccinate the inmate population. I'll continue to make inquiries, but I'll just leave it there. In terms of current infections, we had one new infection among inmates in February, but again, much like January, that individual came to the facility that way and was just held in quarantine until the infection ceased. No new infection among the inmate population proper. Okay, we have 4 staff members diagnosed with COVID infections in February and 2 pending test results. The total statistics since March of 2020, a year now, 1,536 inmates tested, 168 positive. 485 staff members tested, 114 positives. And of course, to this point, we've had no fatalities among the inmate population. And again, we're holding, thank God, at just the 2 staff members that passed away. Of course, we keep our protocols in place. We have lifted some, we have eased some restrictions. We have started moving small cohorts to the law library. We actually started that at the end of January. And we will be commencing some small barbershop operations beginning this Monday coming. But pretty much everything, that's been in place to lead to our success remains in place in terms of distancing and sanitation and mask wearing.
Lee, I know vaccines are scarce everywhere in the county, but has there been any further conversation about making sure that 1A classified individuals in the jail, both staff and inmates?
None, and I've sought that information and I haven't received it.
Okay, well, let's follow up on that. I know there's a lot of people who are in 1A who are not at the jail and are having a hard time getting their vaccines. So it's not unique to the jail, but nevertheless, let's see what we can do there.
Absolutely.
Chairman, I had forwarded the number of inmates that Mr. Tatum had given me to the executives at Crozier. I thought was going to be having a conversation with representatives from the county. Do you know if that happened, or should I follow up with my team?
I don't know that that's happened.
Okay. All right. I'll follow up tomorrow.
Thanks, Deborah. Anything else from the board? All right. Next on the agenda is an update on the deprivatization. I will look to our owner's rep, Mr. El-Sayed.
Thanks, Kevin. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. The team's been working on the financial model. It's coming together. We've been looking to capture all of the costs, including transition costs, county costs, additional staff needed at the county, both in the prison and outside. We've been working on development of the RFPs for key services, such as medical, food service, and some of the other related services in the prison. We've been evaluating the information systems used in the prison and other criminal justice agencies, mapping how data is shared and moved amongst those entities, and developing transition plans for that. We've reviewed the scope of renovations needed in the prison and met with the architectural firm that is developing the scope of those renovations. So these are all things that need to happen as the county takes over the prison. And it's coming together. We hope to have a report for you in the very near future.
If I could add a couple of things to that. From a timing perspective, our intent is to try and get back to the board with some action items in the month of February, which in turn will bring to council.
Howard, I think you mean April, right?
I'm sorry, what did I say?
February.
No, I'm sorry, I meant April. So next month. And I think that at that point in time, you'll see things start to move a little more quickly in terms of board decision making and then setting some things in action. So I just put that out there because Majid talked a little bit about some of the RFPs. The ability to descope the GEO contract certainly requires the board's review, as does the taking some of those descoped items out for proposals. So I think it's important just to start putting a time perspective on it.
And I'll just add that we're looking in terms of the plan for taking over the jail at not doing it at a single date, but to doing it in phases, taking over certain activities, one activity at a time.
And just to elaborate on that, I think what my understanding of that is that the contract with GEO allows for services under the contract to be taken over by the county, sort of in a menu type way that, baked in services can be moved over. So it doesn't have to be sort of an all to nothing type structure, but rather that there can be pieces. It sort of happens piecemeal over a set of time.
That's right. Section 9.7 of the contract allows the county to remove scope items from the contract.
Right. So you look, I think my sense from the owner's rep is that CGL is very near completion of this phase one work. I'm mindful of the fact that this board normally only gets together once a month. And if we're at a place where the board, and the public can receive the report, prior to a month from now, I'd like to see that happen. So there may be a request for a special meeting. Anything else for now?
I
think it's very important that we have a special meeting. So I would encourage that and for all the members of the board to try to attend, because, I do have some concerns. I'm glad to hear that you can piecemeal some of the services, because one of the things I would like to address at the appropriate time, certainly not tonight, is how the county takeover is going to improve the situation for the taxpayer, as well as the residents, the inmates at Delaware County Prison, because I have those concerns. I've had them since we started this project, but I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. As I said all along, I have never been against the county taking over the prison, but I've never been for it either. I just want to make sure that we're doing what we're doing is in the best interest of all concerned.
Certainly, Your Honor. I certainly share that interest that what we do here is in the best interests of all stakeholders in this decision, including the taxpayer, the inmates, the staff, and the county at large.
Thank you.
I just wanted to add too that I know some of us have questions about the details as we go forward, and I definitely think that this board will address them. The transition subcommittee does meet every week to hear for the CGL update. So I think those questions can be put in front of them so we get answers and can feel confident that we have a good basis to make decisions. So I just want to recognize that I know people do have questions, and I do too, and I think we're working to get everything answered before we would be able to vote on this. So I just appreciate the effort that everyone's making and having all the questions that we have too, because I think that's been, Judge Whalen, you've been clear on that since the beginning, as several members have been, and I'm in the same boat there too. So, but I feel pretty confident we're going to work to get answers on everything.
Yeah, and I think the subcommittee is committed to ensuring that all members of the board have that opportunity to ask their questions and make sure that they fully understand the plan here. All right, anything else on the transition for today? Okay, hearing none. Our next item is the subcommittee reports. We've already knocked off one of them, but is there any other subcommittee reports for today?
Yes.
Go ahead, Raheem.
I'm just reporting that the subcommittee reentry team has, we had visited the prison last Wednesday along with some visitors. And I must say it was a great visit. We had a chance to dialogue with Gio and Warden Tatum. I mean, we saw the regular issues that was there that we knew before. And I am going to be doing a report and sending it out to the board and all the parties that were involved, just to let them give you guys an update on what we talked about and what we saw, which is already being all kind of packaged together with CGL.
And the bounce off that is when we did the tour last week, had the opportunity to visit the Vivitrol program, and there's 4 participants in the Vivitrol program currently. We're seeing it on the front lines of substance abuse and treatment here in Delaware County. We're seeing an uptick everywhere right now. We're seeing an uptick in overdose. We're seeing an uptick of people coming into treatment. And we have 4 participants in the Vivitrol program. And talking to the coordinator over there, she's making her rounds, and she expressed what's been expressed for the past year is that a lot of interest, and the individuals do not meet the criteria specifically of not being sentenced. It's one thing we continue to get that feedback for this program, and we haven't had an opportunity to kind of revisit and say, with 26 slots open currently, is there something that we can modify because something is not working? 4 participants in the midst of everything going on, it's unacceptable. So I don't know who that we can meet with, who can we talk to about this, because pretty much it's kind of been confronted to us that these are the requirements, these are the restrictions, let's continue to go on. And that's just not working. This is life and death with this, and individuals coming in there that need treatment, that need support, and people that want it but aren't meeting some criteria, that wherever that criteria came from, can we sit down and discuss with the individuals that have identified that and see if there is a gray area, especially when we have 26 openings in the program. Is there a gray area for people that want this treatment and need this treatment? Is there something that we can do to help them get the treatment? Because right now, I just think it's unfair, and it doesn't make sense to have 4 participants in that program with what we're seeing out here in the county when it comes to substance use in the midst of this pandemic.
Brian, in addition to what you said, which I 100% agree with, didn't the program representative mention that there were 3 people who were released prior to the end of the program? So maybe the short stays is also leading into not being able to keep the program filled, or at least a little bit more robust?
Yeah, but you're right. And those 3 were 3 individuals that were sentenced. So I guess they got released before the sentence. But on the front end, individuals that are not sentenced are not allowed to be considered for the program. There was a situation, fortunately, we've been able to open that program up to the female population, which is, a great thing. But one female was participating. She, cannot even participate in the intensive outpatient groups because you need more than 1 person to be in a group setting. I just want to be able to sit down with whomever has made this criteria and has made it so strict that there's no wiggle room around it, and see what can we do to help people in there that need this treatment, because there's 26 open beds right now for people that need it. There's people that want it, and they're being told that they can't participate.
Look, I obviously I agree. I know that there's been a lot of work done on the Suboxone program and getting that up and running, but that's, it's not going to happen tomorrow. And to your point, we already have this Vivitrol program that's up and running. I guess, Mr. Tatum, do you think that there is a conversation that can be had with GEO's medical folks to see what we can do to, loosen some of the current protocols that make it so underutilized?
I think certainly we can have a conversation with all involved, which would be the program administrators, nursing. I think talking about the actual criteria itself is probably that's the biggest impediment. The other person have to be sentenced or not. That would be the one point that we need to investigate. Of course, I think that all the participants involved should get in a room or on a video like this and talk about the issue. Can only help.
I'm not in criminal, but I'm guessing that the reason for the sentencing requirement is that they would be, presumably could be released at any time prior to sentence, unless there's a detainer holding them, depending on the charges. I guess once they're sentenced, if they're only given time served, I guess they wouldn't be in the program because they would be immediately released. If they're only given a short time, then I don't know if that would be effective for the program. But I think all the issues need to be explored. and I'll bring it to Judge Capuzzi's attention, who runs drug treatment court and is very instrumental in this area.
No, absolutely. And to Judge Whalen's point, that seems to be the huge barrier. But with contracting for Crozier to be the treatment inside of there, there's a warm handoff opportunity that if somebody only participates for a minimum amount of time in the program, they're a client of Crozier and they can transition right into their Vivitrol program upon release. So there's a full continuation of care. So somebody's not just, left out to dry or anything. So and Crozier is extremely supportive. They have the full-time counselor over there, to do this. So.
Well, that's what should be done then. I believe that should be done. If we can continue with the program once they're released, or once they make bail, or once the detainer is removed, then I think that should be the case, because it is an important program that I've supported not only as a judge, but also as the district attorney.
Yeah, and Judge, I think you're right. I mean, that is why we are where we are, that there was a view that there needed to be a minimum of or not a minimum, but 90 days worth of treatment, three shots, and then release, in which they would be transitioned to Crozier. But again, I to Brian's point, there's, I don't want to say there's no good reason, but I can't really think of why it can't be that if someone does get released sooner than maybe was expected, that their ongoing shots can happen at Crozier. It seems like,
I think that the sentencing requirement also, you had to be in a certain window for a sentence in order to be eligible. I think whoever constructed the program, had it in mind that X amount of time in this program and X amount of groups and X amount of shots equal a certain type of success. And I think if you're going to reevaluate this, you have to reevaluate what success looks like in this program. So,
well, if we can get them the shots outside of the jail, then that would effectively resolve that issue. That would be the concern, is to making sure they're continuing with the Vivitrol program if released. So I think that's the obstacle we need to explore.
Absolutely, especially with participants that are being released and, violators, and their continued probation and parole part of, their aftercare guidelines, to continue that. But, when we measure success, when I'm looking at 26 empty beds for individuals that in the prison need the program, success with nobody participating is no success at all. So Crozier definitely has the resources to continue the program afterwards. And they, have been vocal about that. So whomever we have to sit down and talk to about that, because I know Crozier stated that the restrictions and the criteria came directly from GEO, and it's not something that they full-heartedly supported. So whomever we have to sit down and talk to about this, I just believe it's very pertinent, because we're just seeing the beginning of a huge uptick.
Well, Brian and Deborah, if you wouldn't mind sort of taking the lead on that and working with Warden Tatum to have that follow-up meeting.
Sure.
Again, I don't think, the fact that the deprivatization process is happening doesn't need to, stand in the way of making incremental progress here separately.
Okay, great.
Will do.
And just as a general matter, I want to take the opportunity to thank our citizens appointees, all three of you, for your efforts. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any other subcommittee reports for today? If not, we can move to the Warden's Report.
all right, population most recently 1,269. That's 1,102 county male and 136 county female, 6 transfer, 25 lodgers. Total commitments for February, 464. Total discharges, 417. And by the way, for the first 2 months of this year, there's a 17% increase in the total commitments over 2020. Recidivism rate is at 60%, which is holding steady. No major incidents for February. In terms of our updates for GTL, 449 video visits were scheduled in February, 2,064 video visits completed free of charge. Commissary operations continue as per normal.
Lee, can you just to back up, can you remind us where we stand on what's free of charge and what has to get paid for in terms of the GTEL services?
In terms of the actual video, the cost to do the video call or video time, that is not being paid for by the inmate. That's being paid for by GTEL.
And that was an accommodation while we're still in the
Yes,
restrictions on in-person visitations, right?
That's correct. And it's going to continue that way as far as I can see until such time that it changes when we get visitors back in.
Yep.
All right. As I said, commissary operations continue as per normal, along with the gift bags that are continue up until the end of this month. Behavioral health update, one person on the waiting list for Norristown State Hospital. We had our drug and alcohol liaison discharged 49 residents to inpatient treatment in February. And as Mr. Corson pointed out, 4 participants in Vivitrol and 3 participants completed the program in February. In terms of maintenance, we had a number of up and down incidents with the heating throughout the facility, but there was only one instance where it went a little longer than it should have, but most of the incidents were detected and fixed within 24 hours. There was one incident where we handed out blankets on 8 Delta, and we had a contingency plan to move those persons from 8 Alpha and Delta to other units, but that was unnecessary. We've had visits from Siemens. That's a group. Well, the purpose of that visit was to discuss the antiquated computer chips used to control the HVAC program here. And also we had a visit from Ambient Air, which is, our facility managers had discussions with on solutions for HVAC problems specific to this facility. So, we are being challenged with that. We're meeting the challenge, but, the system is old. We have a heating exchanger. The heat exchanger for the DUI building failed beyond repair, but that should be replaced sometime mid-March. Also due to a failure in our generator, we're still renting a generator, cost the county $2,500 last month to rent the generator. Our new generator is yet to be received. We expected it the first week of this month. Hasn't turned up yet. And that's all I have.
Any questions from the board?
I just have a question. These repairs and sort of the condition that these items are in, and these repairs fall on the county no matter what. They're not GEO responsibilities. They're county responsibilities.
I don't think that's right. I thought everything below a certain threshold.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman, go ahead.
Up to $7,500 in most cases, GEO pays for. After $7,500, then it's the county's responsibility.
County, okay. But at the end of the day, if it's over $7,500, it will be on the county at any rate. So
that's correct.
Okay.
Any other questions from the members? I'd only add, in terms of the infrastructure issues that you speak of, Mr. Tatum, again, I mean, that is going to be sort of a part of the transition studying of what needs to be done here if it were to go to county control. All right. If nothing more, we will move to public comment, and I see one that has come through. And it is from Susan Duncan, 317 Valley View Road, Media, PA. And her question is the increased incarceration rate due to the fact that there are more court cases being heard or some other factor? Thank you. Lee, do you have anything you can add there?
I don't know what to attribute that to. It could be just an anomaly. 17% could go down to minus 17% the next 2 months. I don't know. But I did notice that as an uptick. And in fact, that number represents the largest increase since 2017 for the first 2 months.
Yeah, though, as you said, I mean, we're coming off of a real low. I mean, when we were in December, it had never been at the rates that it was. So it certainly has been, going up a bit. It was in sort of the 1100s until about a month ago when it reached into the 1200. I'm sorry. No. Did I say that right? Where are we at now?
We're at 1269.
Yeah, that's right. But I don't really have more of an answer for you. I'm not sure if there's more detentions happening on parole and probation violations. I'd be speculating. I'm not sure what it is, but we'll take a look and see if there's any real trend that's happening there. And that is the only question or comment that I currently see from the public. Anything else from members of the board? I would only add again to the public, be on the lookout if we do have a special meeting to address the phase 1 work of CGL. We will certainly be posting about that. So please be on the lookout for an announcement with regard to that. And if there's anything else, if there's not anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second that motion.
Thank you, Sheriff. Thank you, Brian. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Thank you, everyone. And I will say we'll see you next month. Maybe it's before then. So thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.